Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Welcome into First Pitch, WagerTalk's premier MLB betting show for Monday, June 21st. We got 4 games on the slate. We're breaking them down. Best bets at the end. It's a short card, guys, but it's a good card. A lot of fascinating handicaps here. Some weather's going to be an issue, so we're going to get you updated on all the games, hopefully get you some winners as well. Good slate of analysts on with me, Steve Merrill and Brian Leonard from WagerTalk.com. First up here, Steve Merrill making his Monday debut. Welcome in. Happy Monday to you, Steve.
Yeah, no NBA games tonight, Drew, so I figured I'd sneak in on the baseball show with Brian Leonard and you. So it's nice to be here on a Monday, and baseball's been going well. Split out 1-1 yesterday, but still on a 64% baseball run since the end of May. NBA playoffs have been over a 60% run for over a month as well, and that, of course, does resume tomorrow on Tuesday. But tonight on Monday, $9 Monday, a strong MLB easy over slugfest winner for Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Easy over slugfest winner. I like it, Steve. Guys, make sure to check out both websites, Sports Memo, WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday, like Steve talked about. Last, certainly not least here, Brian Leonard, a mainstay on the show. Brian, always happy to have you on, buddy. Happy Monday morning to you.
Yeah, happy Monday to everybody. And I got to say, Tony Finn's never looked better. So he's lost about 10 years since over the weekend. Whatever's working for him, I need to take. Yeah, it's been a nice weekend for us. Been red hot in NBA, red hot in hockey. Swept the board in baseball yesterday, so very happy. And as Steve mentioned, it's $9 Monday. I've got my best baseball play up on the site for $9. We won't be talking about that one on this show. But, yeah, really looking forward to it. And I am going to have at least one play in the hockey for tomorrow. I'm hoping to get that up tonight. So instead of paying $25 tomorrow, you'll be able to get that for only $9 today. So as soon as we get a little bit more work done, we'll be putting that up there and try to save us all some money.
All right, check out the website later tonight. Always good to check out the websites, guys, on Mondays because of the discounts. But we got 4 games. Let's start off here in the state of Texas. We get the Oakland A's at the Texas Rangers here, Steve. Frankie Montes versus Gibson going for the Rangers, seeing a total of 8, minus 129, or minus about 120 now for the Athletics. Gibson's been good. You know, the underdog here for the Rangers, just a 2.09 ERA, only 58 hits given up in 77 innings. So you can see why the market kind of going here on the Rangers, something we really don't hear a lot of, Steve, but we're seeing it tonight. Any interest in getting involved here in the state of Texas tonight?
Well, I mean, the worst teams in baseball, as you and Brian know, they still win about a third of the time. They win over 60 games at least every season. The best teams in baseball still lose about 60 times out of 162. So if there's ever a time to back a bad team like Texas, who's just 25-46 on the season, it is probably with their best pitcher on the mound in Kyle Gibson. And it's very rare that we could say the Rangers have the starting pitching edge over a team like Oakland, who's 44-29. Just to put it in perspective, Gibson, the Rangers team record with him this year is 8-5 the 13 times he's started. And so if you take those out of the equation, they've gone just 17-41 on all other games when he's not the starter. So I think you can make a case for him tonight. Of course, obviously the odds makers have priced that in, and the early money has come in on Texas as well. They've gone from about $1.20 favorite down now to about $1.05, almost a pick-em price, even money basically. But Texas at home has been better as well, 15-19 versus just 10-27 on the road. So there's a lot of things pointing to the Rangers to get one of those out of 3 wins like they will all season long. And I think it's a decent spot for them here. Oakland also just coming off a huge 3-game series against the Yankees. Keep in mind, before that, they had a 3-game series against the Angels. Could definitely see Oakland being a little flat tonight, and it looks like a decent spot for Texas for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, it's always tough to bet a team, on a 6-game losing streak, talking about the Texas Rangers here. They do have their best pitcher on the hill, but Frankie Montes himself, Brian, hasn't been bad. 16-1 strikeout to walk ratio his last 2 starts. He's a guy that lights it up velocity wise, I don't mind betting on Frankie Montez was when he's in good form, and he's been in good form of late. What are you thinking tonight in Texas?
Yeah, Frankie Montas, last two games, 61, 66 game scores. But I prefer the Kyle Gibson side. If you take a look at the pitchers overall, I think there's an advantage here for Texas. The problem is Texas is 3-17 their last 20 games. They're not playing well. That said, we've got an Oakland team who, as was mentioned, is coming off of that Yankee series, but they ran off 7 straight wins, and then go to Saturday and Sunday's game. Saturday, they had a nice lead. I believe it was 5-2, and they gave up 5 runs late. Oakland dominated that game. And then yesterday, the Yankees won the game, scoring 2 runs. They only had 3 hits. So Oakland, even though they've lost the last 2 games, they're still playing really good ball right now. The pitching advantage is with Gibson over Montas, but Texas isn't hitting the ball that great. You took a look at what they've done over the last 10 games. Their highest scoring output was 5 runs. That was once. I'd much rather take what Oakland's been hitting as of late. So it's a tough game for me. The pitching edge is for Texas. The hitting edge is for Oakland. And you've got a team in Oakland that's 19-11 on the road. So they've been able to play well on the road. I'm not discounting them too much for the 2 losses to the Yankees the last 2 days. I thought in both those games they were the better team. So if they'd have won both those games, we'd be laying a lot more here for Oakland, probably about 140 instead of 120. But this game puts about where I make it. So unfortunately, I don't have much of an opinion in this one.
Okay, fair enough, Brian. And yeah, guys, bullpen edge here towards Oakland. Texas bullpen hasn't been very good. Ty pointing that out, and Johnny in the chat box here. We got Johnny Outlaw saying if the roof is opened, wind blowing in from left at 17 miles per hour. Yeah, that's a good point here, Johnny. The thing is, with a lot of these retractable roofs, for whatever reason, whether it be in Miami, Texas, they're keeping them closed. I don't know if it's what's up with that, but a lot of the time, way more than not, it's the retractable roof is closed. So keep that in mind when factoring in the wind here, guys. We'll head to the next place where wind might be a factor here, and there is no retractable roof. One of my favorite stadiums here, Brian. We get the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs from Wrigley Stadium here. Savale versus Alzolay. Looks like about a -150 price tag here. The Cubs at home, total of 7. We do have the wind blowing in from about 12 miles per hour from left field is what I'm seeing right now, Brian. But hey, we got the Indians on. Love hearing your opinion on them. What are you thinking tonight in Wrigleyville, Brian?
Yeah, for Chicago, Alzolay, or as our friend Tony would say, Frito-Lay, getting a start back tonight after being on the IL for his last start. But he had a 32 game score his last start at San Diego. Before that, 63. In fact, you take a look at the 3 games before that, 63, 62, 65. His worst start, other than his last start, out of his last 7, was 48. So he's been very consistent going against Aaron Savali. Savali coming off a bad start of his own against Baltimore. I watched that entire game, and he just didn't have it. And he had a 29 game score, and that was on the heels of a nice 90 game score at home against Seattle. In a game, he went 8 shutout innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. But Savali's been pretty consistent all season long. He's basically in the 40 to 60 range pretty much every time he takes the hill. And in fact, his last 7, he's at a 55, which is higher than the league average of 50. But Savali's not one of those guys that's going to dominate you. He just keeps the ball in play. Not a huge strikeout guy. He's got 71 strikeouts in 93 innings. So he's not a guy who's going to dominate you. The Indians, the last 2 games, have been without Ramirez, their best hitter in the lineup. He's supposed to be back tonight, so we will see. Without him in the lineup, I think the Cubs are clearly the team to bet on here. But with him back, I think it'd be a situation where you might want to give Cleveland a little look. I'm kind of surprised at the line that you're getting the Indians here as a road underdog in this 140 range. Somewhat surprised in that regard. They're 19-17 on the road. I know the Cubs are 25-12 at home, but I do give a slight edge to Alzolay at home in this game over Savali. From a hitting standpoint, the Indians have hit the ball well as of late, but last 2 games against Pittsburgh, scoring only 3 and 2 runs. Maybe they're regressing a little bit in that regard. The Cubs, take a look at their offense, and I just talked about Texas. The last 8 games the Cubs have played, their high scoring game was 3. Every other game they scored 0, 1, or 2. So you've got a Cubs team who's not hitting right now. You got a Cleveland team who've been struggling against the Pittsburgh pitching staff, especially the starter. A couple of games ago, back when they had that game where they were losing 11-1, they come back, scored 9 straight runs against the bullpen. I think the way to look at this game is probably to play the under in this one. You got 2 pitchers that are pretty consistent. You rarely see bad starts, and they're both coming off probably their worst starts of the season. So slight lean here with the under between these 2.
Sure, Brian. I could see why you're going that route. I mean, very surprisingly, Savale, the starting pitcher for Cleveland, he's 10-2. In Alzolay, he's kind of a tricky handicap here, Steve, because this is his first start in 2 weeks. I think he had a finger issue, something of that nature. So always a little kind of pump the brakes on guys coming off the IL. I'm actually not sure if he went on the IL, but it has been a while since his first start. But to Brian's point here, Steve, the Cubs, their offense the last week, the coldest lineup in MLB with just a 40 weighted runs created plus number. They have a good bullpen. And again, the wind blowing in double digits here from left field. Maybe this under is worth a look here, Steve.
Yeah, just check the current live weather conditions, and I see that as well, Drew. About 11, 12 miles an hour. It's blowing across the outfield now from left to right. So either way, it's not blowing out, no matter how you look at it. And that's why we see a low total. I mean, you can basically know the weather forecast regularly by looking at the over-under line, and when it's 7, the wind is not blowing out. To say the Cubs' offense is ice cold would be an understatement. This is the coldest I've ever seen a team in recent history, to be honest with you. In fact, even back 2 Saturdays ago when they scored 7 runs against the Cardinals, they did so on only 5 hits. Since then, they have scored 2 runs or less in 7 of their last 8 games. They have had 4 hits total or less in 8 of their last 11 games. I mean, we're not talking about 4 runs. We're talking about 4 hits or less in 8 of their last 11 games. So how in the world could you possibly lay $1.50 with an offense like that right now, especially when the Indians technically have the better starting pitching numbers tonight? And as Brian said, they did cool off against Pittsburgh. So that's the only concern I have with Cleveland. I definitely lean towards Cleveland plus $1.35 as the dog. But I would also lean towards the under 7, like Brian said, because the Cubs offense is ice cold. So I'm not going to lay a favorite price with them. So I back Cleveland here, and a little bit of a hedge if the Indians continue to struggle with the under as well, because they did put up just 5 runs on 10 total hits the last 2 games. But keep in mind, before that, they'd scored a total of 35 runs their previous 4 games before those 2 clunkers over the weekend. So I still think Cleveland's in decent form here. I'd much rather have them at the underdog price, and I would lean under 7 as well.
All right. Thanks for that, Steve. Guys, you're watching First Pitch here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. I'm Drew Martin, joined by Brian Leonard and Steve Merrill of WagerTalk.com. Make sure to check out the website, $9 Monday, each and every Monday. So check that out for the discounts. We got 2 games left and best bets at the end. Guys, for the first time, I don't know about the first time this season, but we don't do it a lot, Steve, in terms of talking double headers here. And I felt like we needed to talk about this game because we get DeGrom back on the hill. At least he's the slated pitcher here. The Atlanta Braves versus the New York Mets. We got bettable lines now. I mean, talking about DeGrom here, Steve, this is getting rarefied air. I mean, for my lifetime of the streak that he's on, 0.54 ERA, 111 strikeouts and 8 walks. This is Randy Johnson-esque, Pedro Martinez-esque in their primes here, Steve. He's back on the hill, talking about pitchers coming off the IL, pumping the brakes on betting them. Now we're having to lay minus 220 here, talking about the Mets at home in game 1 against the Atlanta Braves. Looks like Ian Anderson going for the Braves here, Steve. And another interesting note, talking about the total. I don't know that I've seen a total under 5. We got a 4.5 total here, Steve. Now, granted, it's only a 7-inning game. I don't know that I've seen this, a 4.5 total. Any interest in betting this Braves and Mets today, Steve?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see a 4.5 total when you're looking at all the other totals on the live odds screen over there at Wager Talk. You're seeing 7, 8s, 9s. You see a 4.5, you almost feel like it's a typo and that they accidentally put a first 5-inning total with the full game totals. But that's the reality we live in with Jacob DeGrom, obviously. He is a powerhouse pitcher, the best I've seen the last 30-plus years as far as dominance. And, once again, he not only can pitch, but he's one of the better hitters in the league if you look at his numbers. And I know there's not a lot of at-bats, but last I checked, he was batting over 400, drove in a couple RBIs in his last start, has some home runs. I mean, he has better numbers than a lot of regular daily hitters. We talk about Ohtani, but DeGrom is probably somebody that also could be in that daily lineup overall. And once again, we see a 4.5 for this game. The over-under for the first 5 innings for the Astros-Orioles is 6 tonight. That's 2 innings less than this one. So it really is amazing to see this. A big question mark, like you said, though, Drew, is Jacob deGrom. You know, how healthy is he? How long will you could go? I do think this works out really well for the Mets having a 7-inning game because here, again, they could pitch him just 4 or 5 innings and just need 2 innings from the bullpen. So hard to go against New York in this situation. Until I see deGrom struggle, there's no way I'm playing against him in any shape or form. And, of course, something we haven't touched on here on the show today, Monday, June 21st, this is the new date for baseball to start cracking down. They've been talking about it for several weeks, but this is apparently the date now where they're going to start checking the balls, checking the pitchers, checking the pitchers' balls. Do what you want with that pun right there. But this is a situation where deGrom has been mentioned with some of those other guys like Bauer and Cole. But if you look at deGrom's numbers, they haven't really changed much. He's never been a huge spin rate guy compared to the other guys. So I don't think deGrom is doing anything. I just think he's that good. So once again, I'm not fading him until I see otherwise. As far as doubleheaders, big picture, I do usually stay away from them. And this is kind of a textbook example of why today. We have unlisted starters for the second game. As you said, it was unknown if he was going or not. We see the line now in the 200 range, so we know it's deGrom most likely. But just too much uncertainty in either one of these games for me. But we'll be very interested. I'll be watching it closely to see how Jacob deGrom looks tonight on the mound or this afternoon.
Okay, yeah, and guys, it is kind of a happy hour special here. Game 1 at 5:10 Eastern, Game 2 at 8:10 Eastern, and it's just 7 innings here. The first one, 4.5 as the total here, Brian. And we've seen the New York Mets take some serious cash here, up to minus 225 right now on the Wager Talk odds screen. To Steve's point, likely pointing at deGrom as the starter for Game 1 here. Brian, any interest in getting involved in either Game 1 or Game 2 today?
Well, I wanted to touch on Alzolay. He had a blister, which was why he sat out his last start. So if he's got a blister problem, it could come back again. So if you're looking to bet the Cubs, you may get the bullpen a little bit sooner than you normally would because of a blister problem. So that you see that a lot. A guy will come back and then he injures his fingers again. I'm not seeing a pitcher, at least on the Wager Talk line service. You sure it's Anderson against deGrom?
I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I did see that earlier. So that's why I was throwing out Anderson. But I do see the lines up.
Yeah, the lines are up, but I don't see a pitcher for Atlanta. If it is Anderson, there may be some value here on Atlanta. Anderson, one of the 2 best pitchers in the Atlanta rotation, and deGrom's been terrific. But a couple things to keep in mind. deGrom has had to leave 2 of his last 2 starts because of injury concerns, shoulder and arm. So something to keep in mind. Although he was fantastic in his last start before they pulled him, striking out 8 of 9 players. But something I have read, and you talked a little bit about the batting for deGrom. They are saying the last time he played, they thought he might have tweaked a muscle in his side because of his hitting. So there was actually talk about telling just deGrom to come up and stand there and not even swing the bat. If that's the case, he's going to get 2 or 3 bats in this game. Those are automatic outs as opposed to what we would normally get out of deGrom there. So that may have something to keep in mind if it actually happens. He's a professional player. I'm not sure he's going to stand there and not swing, but something to keep an eye on. And if he does swing, he may injure himself. So prefer Atlanta if it is Anderson pitching, but slightly, not enough to make a bet. The total is so low, obviously, because of the good pitching, and these doubleheaders are only 7 innings. The second game, we haven't even seen lines. We haven't seen posted starters, so it's a guessing game. And I'm with you guys. I'm not willing to guess in that regard. As for playing doubleheaders overall, the second game is hard to handicap ahead of time because you don't know who's pitching in the first game. And that's really the problem about betting second games of doubleheaders. First game, just keep in mind it's a 7-inning game. They're easier to handicap. Second games, I really don't do anything with.
Okay. And guys, in the chat box, let us know if you like betting double headers, if you got any kind of edges that you're looking for here. Maybe we could work together as a group to kind of find some edges because it's new to, this season, last season. So maybe the odds makers aren't onto it. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a line below with your thoughts on the situation. We also got some guys here in the chat box, Steve, saying National icky sticky day from Johnny Outlaw here, talking about what you were talking about. They're cracking down, and today is the first day, Steve. And I know you've been covering this subject a lot in terms of MLB coming down. Do we know exactly what the penalties are going to be, and how strict do you think they're actually going to enforce this? Are they going to be stopping the game a lot more, checking the ball? Do you know how this is going to kind of be rolled out by MLB, Steve?
Yeah, what I heard last week, Drew, was that it was going to be a 10-game suspension if they're caught. So then once again, keep in mind, these are pitchers. So if it's 10 games, that's like 2 starts maybe, So, but that's still, 10 games, 2 starts is equivalent of, 1/16 of the season for a starting pitcher. So we'll see how it comes out. As far as how they're checking, we can look at minor league baseball. They've been doing it for over a month now. And this is what I mentioned in the video I did a couple Sundays ago on June 6th on Wager Talk TV. It's still in the archive. People can go back and watch it. Minor league baseball has been cracking down on this since May. And often what we see in the minors trickles into the majors a month or so later. And I think they're going to check guys. But I think the big question is, do they go after a big name star to make a point? More likely, in my opinion, if I had to guess or bet on it, I think they're going to go after a no-name middle reliever. And that'll put everybody else on notice to self-correct. Guys like Garrett Cole, who had a terrible outing a few weeks ago, came back and has pitched well. Trevor Bauer, the poster child of this, who had 2 bad outings, pitched 7 innings, no runs allowed in his start on Friday. So, and yet his spin rate's still been down a little bit. So I think these guys are starting to self-correct a little bit. As a handicapper, I'm not adjusting too much until I actually see something happen. But we will be keeping a close eye on it tonight and this whole week because it's go time. We'll see if baseball really wants to be serious about stopping this. By the way, my solution, the more I've thought about this, I know they had the rosin bag on the mound. Give them all something a little more grippy, not spider tech, but something that's on the mound that they can all use. I think that's the solution. I haven't really heard that talked about, but it seems to me that's a nice compromise, a middle ground where a little more than rosin, but not something that's going to literally tear your skin off like this spider tech apparently does.
Yeah, that could be something that could for sure work here, guys. And breaking it down, 4 games. We got the last one here, best bets at the end. We talked about it at the start, guys. It's a short card, but it's a good card, and it ends with a really good one here in the nightcap, Brian. We get the Dodgers and Padres, arguably the hottest rivalry in baseball going right now. Darvish versus Urias. We get a little Japan versus Mexican action here from the starting pitching perspective, Brian. Total of 7, minus $1.25, actually even higher now. The Padres taking some money as high as minus 130. We haven't seen the Dodgers as this big of a plus price tag, maybe all season long. I don't know, Brian. What are you thinking here? Late night action in Petco, Dodgers and Padres.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I just want to touch on the last subject. There has been talk from some batters that don't want them to not be able to grip the ball because they don't want to get hit. But both sides, the pitchers and the batters, want a bag out there with a pre-approved concoction for them to be able to use. I think baseball's just going to have to do that, and that'll take care of everything because the batters don't want guys getting hurt, and the pitchers want to be able to control the ball. So it makes a lot of sense. Both sides pulling in the same direction here. Yeah, this game is a really interesting handicap because the Padres are not nearly as good a team this year, hitting wise, as what the Dodgers are. The Dodgers are an elite hitting team. The Padres, in a lot of respects, are less than average hitting. And you've got Urias and you've got Darvish, who have been at the top of their games all season long. It's hard to find any fault with either one of these starters. You take a look at what Darvish has done against the Dodgers. His last 3 starts he's had in his career against the Dodgers. He's got a 1.29 ERA with a game score of 76. And 2 of those were this year. So this is actually the 3rd time the Dodgers have faced Darvish with 78 and 71 game scores. Urias, it'll be the first time since 2020 he has faced Darvish. And in fact, he's only faced him 3 times, the last 2 in 2016. In 2020, he had a 58 game score against him. So I expected the pitching to be dominant here. But if it's going to be any run scored, I think it'll be on the Dodgers side. So do you go against Darvish with that terrific record he's had against the Dodgers? I don't know. He's been so good the last 2 years, 2.57 ERA this year, 2.01 last year. Urias not as good, but very consistent with the better hitting team. It's such a tough game for me. Slightly to the under. It's tough for me to pass up the underdog also, but it's a small card, and luckily we don't have to play every game. So I'll just be gladly to watch this game instead of having to bet on it.
Yeah, this will be the last game on the card, guys. And of course, a good one here with two of the best teams in baseball, Urias and Darvish on the hill here, Steve. I mean, Brian spoke to it. Darvish's numbers have been great all season, regardless of the team. He's really handled this Dodgers lineup. But Urias on the other side, he's been good as well, not only against the Padres, under a 680 team OPS against. His strikeout to walk ratio, we get the Dodgers here, 8-2 their last 10, winning 3 straight. Padres have been good as well. This is a good one late night, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is the first time I'm showing the Dodgers plus money all season. They went off in some spots as a minus 101 dog earlier this year against Milwaukee and lost that game, but still they were never plus money at the closing line. They were $1.10, $1.15 favorite in a couple other games. They went 2-0 in those. So basically 2-1 this year when small favorites. And this will be the first time they're plus money. And those that remember weeks ago, you actually, Drew and you and I both on YouTube with our comment section below, we had all the viewers chiming in. What's the over-under? And I made it, when they didn't go off at plus money in that 101 game, I made it 3.5, I think. And this was after the Dustin May injury. And now it's the first time in how many games have they played? They've played, I think, like 73 games, I believe, on the season. So they're a dog for the first time. That means they'll be a dog for the second time at 144. So the under 3.5 is on pace right now, even if they go plus money tonight. Hard to turn down the Dodgers at plus money. I understand it's the pitching matchup, but like Brian said, it's not like you're getting a bad pitcher here with the Dodgers. You're getting a much better offensive team with the Dodgers. And I've pointed this out. San Diego has not hit the ball well this season. However, they have heated up here over the past week. They've now scored 6 runs or more in 4 of their last 5 games, with 11 hits or more in 3 of those 5. And keep in mind, before that, they were on a run of 2 runs or less over like a full week. So it does look like the offensive momentum is working here for both teams. Dodgers, 18 runs, 26 hits their last 2 outings. I'll take a little bit of a contrarian call with the over in this game. Obviously, 2 good starting pitchers, but I think you sometimes get value by looking at offensive momentum. And we obviously get a low total here at 7 to the over. So I like over 7 in this one between the Dodgers and Padres. And I think the Dodgers will be a dog 3 or 4 times. I think that 3.5 is a pretty solid number now for the season. And comment below here on the video. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know, guys, in the comments below. Like Steve said a couple weeks ago, we put out the number. Steve put out the number. I think I've said 5, Steve, just because I was thinking, man, it's a long season. You never know with the injuries. Sure enough, the first time as a plus price underdog. So, heck, plus 114. We're talking about the nightcap here, guys, with best bets around the corner. I'll start us off. This is my best bet. I got the Dodgers plus 114, just bet them personally before the show. And to Steve's point here, maybe looking towards the over. Melicon, their closer, and Pagan. Melicon back-to-back days out of the bullpen. Pagan just threw 22 pitches last night, so watch out for that with the Padres. A good bullpen overall, but 2 of their better arms just pitching a little bit taxed here. Darvish, no doubt about it. Can't take anything away from him, guys. This is a good team and a good pitcher. But on the other side of that, we get the Dodgers at the plus price here with Urias on the hill, one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's held the Padres lineup at bay. He's been very good overall. His strikeout to walk ratio, 90 strikeouts, 13 walks on the season. This is a Dodgers team up over a positive 100 run differential, only one of 2 teams in MLB. They're 21-15 on the road, 8-2 their last 10, winning 3 straight here. I like this Dodgers lineup. I like their pitcher, and getting them at a plus 114 price tag. I'm going to jump on it for my best bet tonight. We got Brian Leonard bringing the goods here. Wager Talk. He's got his play up, $9 Monday, guys. Make sure to check it out. Brian, where are you going for best bets tonight on the show, buddy?
I'm going to take a look at a favorite here. I'm going to play Houston against Baltimore, playing in Baltimore. The Orioles, they're 1-9 their last 10 games. They are 12-23 at home this season. The pitching situation with Aiken and Odorizzi, I have graded out basically exactly the same. Odorizzi's had better years than he's had the last couple, but he's only thrown 38 innings in that time frame. So he'll regress to a better pitcher as the season goes on. I like Aiken better than most, but a lefty against this Houston offense isn't the way I want to take a look at this. They're 19-14 against lefties, but they've hit lefties really well. In fact, they're number 1 in baseball with the WRC plus, I believe 126, even ahead of the Chicago White Sox, where people line up to bet on them when they face a lefty. So I think the Houston Astros are going to have some success here. And if you take a look at this Astros offense, they've been consistently really good, hitting the ball very well. And I think there's a big advantage in the offenses between these two teams right now, especially with the handedness of these two starters. Baltimore rakes against lefties. They're very good against lefties, but against righties, I believe they're like 82 on the season against right-handers for the WRC plus. So we're laying a little bit here with Houston on the road, but I think it should be a little bit higher. I know Houston played Chicago, and a lot of people are going to say it's going to be a little bit of a letdown here, but Chicago, if you've been following them all season long, they don't play well against good teams. And Houston does. Houston's got a very good record against teams over 500, and they've raked against teams under 500. So I'll play Houston here as the road favorite, and it's sitting right now anywhere from 160 to 165, 67. If it gets to 175, I'm off, but anything less than that, I'll be on Houston as my play today.
The Houston Astros against the lefty. Step aside, Chicago White Sox versus the lefty, the number one hitting team versus lefties. So Brian going on the Houston Astros here, minus the price tag. And Steve Merrill, again, guys, $9 Monday, WagerTalk.com. Steve's got a play up. Check him out. Steve, where are you going for best bets for tonight, buddy?
Yeah, I do have an easy over slugfest for $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, a game which I think will soar over the total on a 64% baseball run since the end of May. So once again, $9 Monday. Get both me and Brian tonight for less than the cost of one play on average. So $9 Monday for both of us, a great deal at WagerTalk.com. Going to go to a game here, another easy over that was just a bit outside for making the best bet card. And I agree with Brian. I like the Astros in this game tonight, so I'm going to look at the total over 10.5. And it's heavily based on the fact that Houston does crush lefties. Probably should have used the team total over 5.5. So I would say that's a good way to play this as well. But I think Baltimore can help get it there as well. I'm a little bit concerned that the Orioles don't hit righties as well as they hit lefties. But Baltimore's still in decent offensive form. They've scored 7 runs in 3 of their past 5 games. They've had 9 hits or more in 3 of those 5, including 12 hits in a couple of them. And we know how bad the pitching is. So once again, I think the Astros over 5.5 is definitely worth a look, as well as the game total over 10.5. And once again, to reiterate how good the Astros offense has been good against righties and lefties, but they're averaging nearly 3.5 runs per 9 innings more against all left-handed pitchers this year. So they've just crushed them. Even after the big series against the White Sox, I don't think there's any letdown here. And plus, they're playing the Orioles. I don't think you can help but hit the Orioles. So I like the Astros over 5.5 team total. And for the official play here, we'll make it over 10.5. For the game, Orioles and Astros.
Yeah, and Steve, to your point here, Brian in the chat box saying Baltimore no bullpen as well. That always helps the over in the later innings to put up some crooked numbers there, guys. So shout out to the chat box. Bring in the heat. Johnny, Anthony, Brian, Ty, all you guys, Jessica, Abby. All the regulars, appreciate you joining us each and every Monday through Friday, guys, 1:45 Eastern time. And if you're watching on replay, that works as well. Please smash the like button, the thumbs up sign, and feel free to leave a comment below. In recap here for best bets, I got the Dodgers plus 114. Yes, you're reading that correctly. The Dodgers are the plus price underdog. I'm jumping on them for my best bet. We got Brian Leonard, Astros, minus 155. And Steve Merrill, you just heard it then for on the over in the same game. So guys, please smash that like button on your way out. For Brian, Steve, I am Drew. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Best of luck with your bets until then. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.